Well, you've got to remember that your first chapter in almost every single story type is supposed to introduce your character in their normal everyday, which is boring.
Yes. So true.
But guys, we do boring every single day. We live and breathe boring every single day, but we find different ways to make it interesting. So the challenge is, how do you make your boring interesting? We'll show that on paper.
Mic drop.
Welcome to the Author Like a Boss podcast, the podcast for indie authors who want to improve their writing, up-level their marketing, make money with their books, and have fun doing it. Now, on to the show with your host, Ella Barnard.
Hey bosses, are you a writer who is finally ready to finish and publish their first book? Or maybe you've already published but want to up-level your sales and marketing? If either of these sound like you and you'd like a little help, come check out the Author Boss Academy. In it, we have live coaching, an exclusive author community, and lots of fun. You can find out more about the Academy at authorlikeaboss.com/academy. Hello, bosses. Hello, everybody. We are here today with SM Blooding. Okay, SM Blooding. She lives in beautiful Montana with her darling dork, his two girls, Miss Words and Do It, and Tesla the Ninja Kitty. They play Skip Boo and Uno a lot and are quite practiced at surviving Ninja Kitty attacks when they're not squabbling loudly over cards or surviving the claws of the cat. They're doing arts and crafts or pretending to survive the zombie apocalypse in the woods. Now, SM, you go by Frankie.
I do. Yes.
Okay. And I'm realizing I said Skip Boo because that's how we were raised.
That's how I was raised too. Yes. Yeah. So I'm always calling it Skip Boo, and everybody else is like, it's Skip Boo.
Yes.
And I'm like, no, it's not.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. Phew.
Oh,
I'm connecting with you really strongly right now.
Yeah, you're like the only other person.
I know. I think you are too. Like me and my family and you. I think that's hilarious. Okay.
I'm so glad to know I'm not alone.
I know. I'm like, I was reading it. I'm like, I can't say it the way that other people say it. I have to say it the way I was raised saying it.
Right? Okay. It just sounds wrong.
So thank you for being here. Totally off tangent.
Well, thank you for having me.
Okay. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your author journey?
Oh, okay. So, I actually got started, back in the day when this whole ebook thing was just starting, and it was starting in erotica. And so my very first books were actually erotica, and I hadn't read any. And so I decided to write what I thought erotica was supposed to be. And it was awful. But I got it published through a publisher, one of the big ones at the time. And it won a couple of awards, but it was so bad. And then I got dumped by a couple of small press publishers a couple of times. And I had a really bad experience with one of them. And so I just decided that I was going to do this on my own. And that was during the time when, like, nobody did that. And so, like, I was one of the first. But when I say I was one of the first, I was like one of thousands. And I've been learning the ropes along the way and doing things the wrong way more than I've been doing them the right way.
But then doing some the right way.
Yeah, doing quite a bit more the right way now. I started my own publishing company 2 years ago, and we're just getting more books published and getting more authors out there. And I'm trying very, very hard to invest in my authors the right way. so that their books are as successful as I can possibly make them. So I'm making all of the mistakes on my books so that I'm not making them on theirs.
So what are you writing now?
Right now, I am writing the first book of season 3 of Whiskey Witches, which is Hush Little Shifter. And that is page, we're in the aftermath of what happened in the crossover event that concluded season 2. And we kind of exploded Troutdale a little bit. And we showed the world that paranormal creatures and people are out there and that, they live among us. And now we're dealing with the repercussions, and the repercussions are quite big. Paige and I are delving into uncharted territory.
Okay, awesome. Can you tell us, tell us a little bit about what do you mean by seasons?
Okay, so
I'm like, season? I know. Books, right? Not TV.
They are. They are.
Yeah,
but,
tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so what happened is I had this really amazing idea to branch off in the Whiskey Witches universe because we have so many amazing, just dynamic characters. And I wanted to give them an opportunity to write. Well, I decided that I was going to start with Dex. Dex is Paige's almost husband now. Eventually, I'll get them married. And my husband started looking at it, and he actually, he was just like, "Hey, can I take a chance with this? Can I try it out? Because I'm a girl and he's a guy and Dex is a guy and Dex is a guy. And he's always talking about cars and I don't get that." So I let him, and he did a really fantastic job with it. So I was just like, "Babe, just take this series." And then he did. So he was writing that in tandem with me. And then I met Olivia Patton, and she writes romance. And I was trying so hard to break into the romance scene, but I do not have a romantic heart. I do not have a romantic bone in my body. So it just wasn't working. And Olivia said, "Well, I will add the romance to your story." And like, that girl doesn't have a thriller bone in her body. So it seemed like a really good pairing. So her and I were writing romance together, and that was another spinoff, Shifting Hearts. I released them as separate series, and no one understood what we were doing. They didn't understand that, like, you could read whichever books you wanted to, in really whatever order you wanted to, and that you would still be able to understand the story because it just wasn't something that was done. And so in January, I re-released the entire Whiskeyverse in season 1, which was Origins, and then season 2, which is Shiftings, where we're starting to shift gears and stuff. And it has the 6 books in order so that people actually understand it a little. It's easier to understand. And then we have the crossover event, which you actually have to read the 3 books in order to understand the plot on that one.
Okay.
But I kind of emulated the Arrowverse on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just to double check that I'm understanding this correctly.
I know.
Just to double check. So you have one world, Whiskey Witches world.
Yes.
And you were writing some books in it. Your husband was like, "Hey, I could probably write some books in this world. Let me give it a shot." But those books, and then you found Olivia, and she was like, and you were like, "Hey, do you want to write some books with me in this world too, with some romance in them?" So are there 3 different kinds, like your books solo, the books with you and your husband, and then the books with you and Olivia?
Yeah.
And they're not the same. They're in the same world, but not necessarily the same genre, but crossover.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
And you have a crossover event, which is like which is like when the people from NCIS go over to NCIS LA, and you're like, yeah, the people from this other storyline are in this one right now. Ooh,
yes,
okay, got it.
Yes,
and you have them called by different seasons.
I do now, and now things are selling. People are understanding it, and they're quite receptive to it. So I'm just going to go with it.
I think my cat heard me talk about Whiskey Witches because his name is Whiskey, and he just jumped up on the desk and walked by the microphone. He's like, "You called?"
Well, hi, Whiskey.
You called? Okay. And yours are more thriller.
Yes.
Your husband's are
mystery thriller.
Okay. And then the ones with Olivia
are romance.
Okay. Straight romance or kind of like
they're paranormal romance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I get it now.
Yeah. And then going into season 3, we're actually going to put Shifting Hearts on hold a little bit because that one just never launched, and Olivia is off doing her own thing now. So she took my romanticness away. And so Leslie, another character, she's going to get her series, and that's going to be a cozy mystery.
Oh.
I'm so excited.
I like that you can take this one world and go so many different directions in one world.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah. It's just like, well, what do you want to write today? Well, I want to write a cozy mystery. All right, let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you find that you have different audiences for each of the seasons, or is there a significant number of people reading all the seasons?
When I first launched the 3 series, I really thought that we were going to get different audiences for each spinoff. And the only one that really got a different audience was Shifting Hearts, and that was the romance line. The urban fantasy and the mystery thriller readers didn't necessarily enjoy reading romance, but the romance readers typically enjoyed reading the urban fantasy and the thriller. So yeah. Now that I've got it streamlined, now it's predominantly just the same readership.
Okay, tell me about what you mean by streamlined.
Well, so I'm a very visual person. So when I launched it the first time, it looked a lot like spaghetti because I was just throwing books out there kind of willy-nilly and, kind of waiting for them to find their home in the readership. But now that I've got them labeled as season 1 and season 2 and season 3, people are just like, yep, okay, I will just read this.
Okay.
I don't care what books are in here. I'm going to read this season.
Okay, so can you tell me what I really am curious about is now I'm curious about the re-releasing. So what was the process? So you had all the books out there. Like spaghetti.
It really was.
Like a plate of spaghetti where you just had like noodles going wherever.
Oh, yeah.
And then now you're like, now it's like lasagna, layer on top of layer.
It is. Yes.
Can you, what did you do? Like, what was the process you went through to re-release those books?
I looked at the branding of it. Because when I released it like spaghetti, I had 3 different brands and they had 3 very different looks and they had 3 very different feels. The blurbs were very different, like they were genre specific, but I don't necessarily think that I captured the brand really well. Mm-hmm. So then I went back to the drawing board and I I distanced myself a little bit. I went a little bit more 360 view. And, I was just like, okay, this isn't just this series, and this isn't just this series or this series. This is the whiskey verse. So what does the whiskey verse look like? And what does that brand look like? And what does that brand sound like? And what should it feel like? And once I did that, then I came up with colors, the branding colors that I wanted, the fonts that I wanted to use. Because even though I, changed the look and the feel, like my husband's books still have a different font for the title. And Olivia's books has a different font for the title than like mine do, even though like if you were to put all the books together, they look like they belong together now. So I was looking at how it would look and how it would feel, and then changed up the blurbs to where it feels more organically together. And now there's a lot fewer people who are like, I'm really confused as to what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
They can just look at it and get it a little bit better.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense to me. I think like, oh, that makes sense. That I've been like thinking about this lasagna. I'm like, oh, so like you have the noodles, and that's season 1. You have the meat layer, and that's season 2, and they go, and then you have the cheesy layer, and that's season 3, and you have them all together, and they make a delicious meal.
Yeah.
But they are still very much individually themselves.
They are. Yeah. The fonts and the colors and the all of that are just the seasonings that you throw in there to make it smell even better when it's in the oven.
Oh my gosh, this is making me hungry. I'm like, lasagna sounds really good right now.
But it takes so long to make it.
I know. Thank goodness for Costco.
Right? I have Costco chicken pot pie ready to go in the oven.
No. Okay. So tell me, I want to still follow up on this re-releasing. So you changed you updated, did you take everything down? Like everything down?
No.
Okay.
I put everything up there as I was getting it done, because as far as the marketing and the covers and blurbs and all of that, that's all me. So it's as I have time to do it. So I got it up there, kind of soft launched it, and like it was already starting to generate organic sales that way. And then once I had like a season done, then I would go to my newsletter and I'd officially get it up on BookBub and, start doing some of those ads and the Facebook ads and stuff like that.
Okay. So you you would update like just the cover.
Yeah.
And the blurb.
Yeah.
As you were completing them. And then once you had a season done, you would go to other places.
Yeah.
And just be like, hey, now what do you mean by soft launch?
Soft launch is when you put it up there and you wait for the world to find you. It's not a great way to sell books. Just throwing that out there.
So you weren't like, new thing, everybody. Da, 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 da.
Yeah, no, like, I didn't. Yeah.
Okay.
I was just like, if nobody sees me right now, that's perfectly fine. But
like, I'm still working on the other covers for the season.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I even had 2 readers that like emailed me. Like they were really upset about this, and like they dug to get my email address, and they're like, I don't know if you know this, but you don't have all of your covers updated yet. And I'm like, I know. That's the way I haven't gotten them all done yet.
Were they understanding when you replied?
Oh yeah.
Like, did you know?
Yeah, they were really upset for me.
Oh, like on your behalf. They're like, Amazon hasn't fixed your covers yet. And you're like,
Yeah,
sorry,
well,
it's not Amazon.
they thought it was Whistling Book Press.
Oh. Your own press.
I'm like, no, it's fine. It's fine. That would be me too.
Oh, man, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
They're like, this press, they are not doing their job. You're like,
you should really find someone better. I'm trying. Okay.
Than yourself. Oh, man. Oh, my gosh. That's hilarious.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Okay. So soft release out. How do you think that people are just finding it? And so are you having results from the soft release just from having new covers?
Oh, yeah.
Significant?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Like without any advertising, I went from making, I don't know, like 1 to 2 sales a day with no advertising, mind you, to making 8 to 10.
Just from changing the covers?
Just from changing the covers.
With no advertising?
Yeah.
Like you didn't do anything?
Correct. No Facebook ads, no bookbub ads. I didn't put it out to my newsletter for the longest time.
And it was already generating more people just from not even the newsletter.
Yeah. Now, not every day, mind you.
Yeah.
I mean, ups and downs.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doubled my organic book buys.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay, so everybody, you can see me. I'm like shocked. I'm like, what? I'm like, the importance of the book cover, people.
The importance of the entire sales page, and that would be your blurb, your cover, and your opening chapter. Because lots of people forget that opening chapter. It's very important.
So important. And I'm going to follow up on that, but I also want to just emphasize the branding, the cover.
Oh, the branding was huge.
The branding, because if you have somebody who likes one book, and they can see that it brands with these other books, you're getting more people who are reading. I'm going to assume that you're getting more people who are reading more of your books, and that's contributing to the number of sales.
Yeah.
Because
absolutely.
The cohesive branding, they're like, oh, this one's related to this one.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I've had quite a few male readers who have contacted me. They absolutely love Dex's books. Dex's books are what bring several of these guys in. And they're like, I read your romance. I don't hate it. I'm like, well, thank you. That's awesome. However.
Wow.
Yeah. Like the romance readers don't necessarily enjoy our romance because it's not hot and steamy, and we don't have alpha males. We wrote romances that we liked.
Oh no.
Yeah. So we're we kind of missed the boat there.
Okay. So that's why you're like, we're not focusing on that so much anymore because our strengths are over here.
Correct. We're getting people who don't read romance to like our romance, and we're getting the people who love to read romance who are like, no. So
okay. That's weird.
It's interesting. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about first chapter.
Yes. Oh God.
I think people forget about that.
I think so too. Because okay, so with Real Indie Author, I help authors with their editing and their marketing and their blurbs, and they'll come to me and they're like, I need a book doctor because I'm not selling anything. And like I look at two things. Well, I look at two things first, the cover and the blurb, because everybody looks at that and they're like, oh, you can fix this and you can fix that. But then I look at the first chapter and I'm like, this is the reason why you're not making any sales. And usually it's passive telling, lots of info dumps. You're not using good hooks. The narrative is not engaging, or there's so much front matter that you get a very short sample of the actual chapter. And that happens a lot with novellas because, you only get 10% in your opening sample, I guess. And so if you have lots of front matter, then they're not getting much of a sample.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you, now it's having less front matter. That's a pretty simple thing. That's a simple fix, you guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
But how do you help people with the other aspects of having a really good first, like really strong beginning?
Well, normally what I do is I do a really hard developmental edit, and then I give it back to them bloody.
Okay.
However, I mean, really and truly, most of the people who come to me have very similar issues because, they're not actively showing, they haven't quite figured out the voice yet. We're actually reading like draft 2 instead of draft 5, because of time constraints. And so like the first time you write out your book, your first couple of chapters don't have your character's voice yet because you're still working that out. And so, sometimes they haven't invested the time to go back to the first few chapters and get that character's voice through those chapters. And it really shows. It really shows because like I'll be going through and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, there's your character's voice. Why isn't it up here? Because it needs to be up here.
Yeah. I wrote a story recently and I'm like, it wasn't until like chapter 3.
Right.
Like, oh, here's my flow. And it's my own story.
Yeah.
I read it later and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, now I can tell I got into the flow. Like the first couple chapters were kind of awkward.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And not even engaging for me. And I'm like, that's not good.
Yeah.
It's my own story.
Yeah.
So,
now see, when I write like a brand new series, brand new story or whatever for myself, like I just sit down and I know that the first 3 chapters are probably going to get tossed out and rewritten better. Like I just,
ahead of time.
Yeah. It gives you the room to fail correctly.
I love that one. I love being able to fail. I'm like, people, failing is fine.
Failing is great.
Failing is fun.
Yes. As long as you're learning.
As long as you're learning and completing things.
Yeah.
What kind of things do you recommend? So we've heard about what you would like take out, backstory and make sure you have voice. But what do you recommend just generally? Like, what are some good things? You said having the right hooks. Do you have a couple of examples of what kind of hooks or what a hook? Talk a little more about hooks. What a hook is for those people who are like, hook? What is that exactly?
A hook? Well, hooks are those one sentence attention grabbers. And it really needs to emulate the tone of your story. So like if your main character is very intuitive, he went to college and he's very smart or whatever, then like your opening hook is going to have his voice and it's probably going to be a snarky observation, and then it will launch us into the rest of the scene. Or if you have a sarcastic character, she might start the scene with, oh, you know what? I had one, the opening to Demon Whiskey, and it was Leslie, and she started it off with, "This was Leslie's life. The pancakes broke the morning. It's something to grab the reader's attention, and to give them some kind of relatability and to spark their interest. It doesn't necessarily have to be a punch to the face. We don't have to be running. We don't have to be, doing anything crazy or exciting. It can just be a conversation, like an interesting one. It can just be, interesting narrative, as long as we get out of the head of the character quickly in that opening scene. It just has to draw the interest, and it has to keep the interest.
I think that's really important. I really like how you're saying it doesn't have to be like a whole scene. It can just be, because a lot can be kind of intimidating. You're like, oh my God, whole scene. Like, how do I come up with the hook? And then there's so much pressure of like, well, this still isn't good enough. Still, like, I can see a lot of authors procrastinating on ever completing it because they're like, but the first chapter isn't the awesomest. Whereas a sentence or two.
Well, you've got to remember that your first chapter in almost every single story type is supposed to introduce your character in their normal everyday, which is boring.
Yes. So true.
But guys, we do boring every single day. We live and breathe boring every single day, but we find different ways to make it interesting. So the challenge is, how do you make your boring interesting? We'll show that on paper.
Mic drop. And that's how you write.
Yes.
Okay, I think that's really, really good info. And it makes me really want to go back to my own story and be like, I could have done that first line just a little bit better.
That is the downside to being author, is like you learn something and then you get it and you're like, oh crap, now I need to go do this like on all of the others.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, it's not published yet. I can still make one change.
Well, if it's not published yet, you're fine.
Yes, I know. I'm like, it might be with the editor, but it's just one line.
It's just one line. It'll be fine.
Fine. I'll proof it myself.
and then you will forget the one comma in your opening line.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Okay. One thing that you mentioned kind of casually earlier that I want to just follow up on is that you have, you were like, I send it to my newsletter.
Yeah.
Where and how did you find newsletter subscribers?
I don't newsletter very well. Okay, so I have messed up my newsletter so many freaking times. Let's see. I used to go out and, when they do all of these great big huge newsletter builders, you can get 10,000 newsletter subscribers. Mm-hmm. I did that a couple of times, doing giveaways and stuff. And then all I got were people who weren't interested in my book whatsoever. And whenever I talked about my book, then they told me that I was spamming them. But if I was giving them giveaways, then, they were really excited about that. Okay. I was just like, well, you're the wrong kind of people. Mm-hmm. And then so I tried just getting newsletter subscribers off my website, which was great because I actually got people who were interested in my books, mm-hmm. except I would get one of those a month. So,
oh, that's not very much. So what do you find is your effective marketing now then?
Honestly, it's a newsletter magnet, you know.
Mhm.
So it's a freebie, and I put that out there and just let them know that if they subscribe to my newsletter, then they'll get this free novella. And then I warn them that occasionally I'm going to talk about my books on a rather sporadic schedule, because that's how I newsletter. And I do get some subscribers that way, but I still end up getting a lot of freebie seekers this way.
Mm-hmm. So what are you doing if the newsletter isn't as effective for you, what is working?
My bookbub actually is.
Really?
Yeah. Bookbub ads are my most effective way right now. Also, like I'm trying to get my Facebook page more active. So I'm doing this thing, I'm test driving this thing, and it seems to be working okay. Where like I will interact more often in my my fan group, which people are actually responding to some of my posts now, and onto my Facebook page, and like I'm posting some videos and stuff in there, and then once every 2 weeks, if I remember, I will send out my newsletter, and I will link back to those and be like, hey, just in case you missed it, we're doing this thing over here. And so between the two, that is working to get people engaged. But as far as buying books go, bookbub ads.
Bookbub ads.
Yeah.
Okay, you're one of the first people to talk about with me bookbub ads, although I know that they're a thing.
Then we need to keep this a secret.
I know. You guys, no bookbub ads.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I think so basically everybody, if you're a new indie author, BookBub is like if you can get a BookBub deal, where you pay them so much money, and then they send your book out to their list, which is apparently very active and massive.
Yeah. However, I will state that in order to really get your money back, you need to have a US BookBub.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had a everywhere except for the US, and it didn't do super well.
Okay. I've seen it go different ways,
me too.
I've seen some.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, I got it. Anyway, but those are usually very hard to get.
They are.
They're like, they only give them to a few people on occasion, and there's thousands of people that want them.
Yeah.
But the BookBub ads,
yes,
are different than that.
They are different than that. So you have to apply for an account, and basically, if I remember correctly, all you really had to do was claim your author profile. And then once you've done that, and you had I don't even think you have to put any books attached to your author profile, but you can just start running ads. And the best way to do that is to pick one author at a time. Like run one ad and target one author. Like $10 for the ad until you find the authors that are doing well for you. And then once you have those, then you make your big BookBub ad and you put all of those together and you apply that there.
Okay. So what you're saying, for those of us who haven't done ads before, is that you can make an ad and BookBub will send it to the audience who also is following one specific author.
Yes.
So you're like, I want to send this out. I want this ad to go to everybody who is following Jim Butcher.
Yes.
Say. Okay.
However, he's don't target Jim Butcher.
Was an example. Okay.
Sorry, just throwing that out there. Just throwing it out there.
Huge author, so
yes,
you'll probably get better responses with Medium. But
yeah,
with
yes,
medium-sized
the
authors.
mid listers are
Yes.
great.
Yes. But let's say you're trying it out, and then you keep trying different authors, one author at a time, until you have like a handful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
And then you gear all of yours to the handful that you are getting a good return rate on.
Yes.
Okay.
The great thing about BookBub ads is that you literally only pay for the ads that actually deliver a click. And so like you can
Really?
offer them, yeah, you can offer them like $500, but like if you don't get $500 worth of clicks, then they're only going to take 100.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
That's nice. So it's not
It is.
impressions, it's actual clicks.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. And
Mhm.
people, that's amazing, because people who are looking at BookBub are readers.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
it's your ideal
like
reader
like
right
the
there.
real kind.
That
Yeah.
is great.
Yeah.
That's
And
great.
also, if you guys are wide, BookBub is the best way to read your wide or to reach your wide readers.
Ooh.
Because say you want to find your YouTunes readers. Well, you can target a specific author and you can target a specific vendor. And because like certain authors are bigger on like iTunes than they are on Barnes & Noble, and vice versa. So then you just target the authors who are bigger on iTunes, and all you do is you just select only iTunes and just those authors.
Oh my gosh. And you only pay per click.
Yeah.
Oh.
You do have to set it up for per click.
Yes, but still.
Yeah.
You set it
Yeah.
up for per click, and then, oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
It's
So-
amazing.
If you guys aren't excited to go like BookBub right now, you should be. It's very exciting.
And I could put that into a class.
Yes.
I could make so much money on it. But no. Just do the thing. Just do the thing. It'll be
Just do
fine.
the thing. Okay, I had another.
I was being snarky.
Can you just do the thing, you guys?
Just do the thing.
Quote of the thing. Do the thing. Just do the thing. On the ads that you're doing, are you doing like a book cup, like a picture of your book and a quote, or a picture of your book and a tagline, or what are you doing for your ads?
I've actually got quite a few. And because I worked so hard on my covers, and because I'm the one who did my covers, I have the blank, the flat blank. So the paperback where you have the full spread, and there's no words, no titles, no nothing. It's just the picture. And so I use that as for all of my ads. And I can scale it up, I can scale it down, whatever I want. And then as far as the actual verbiage on the BookBub ads, I'll play around with it. Like sometimes it's quotes from reviews, and sometimes they're taglines, and sometimes, it's just what do we have? We have shapeshifters and witches and vampires that don't sparkle. That was actually one that did really well. But your call to action button, the best color that works is red.
Oh,
Discovered that one. Yeah. Blue call to action buttons don't get any action.
Danger! You need to buy this book.
Right.
Do you have the call? What do you have on the call to action button?
Sometimes it's learn more, especially if no. So yeah. Sometimes it's learn more, but usually it's buy now.
Okay. I always am like, oh man,
I
do I have to be clever on this button?
No.
Like,
No.
how clever am I supposed to be on this button?
If you want their money, tell them
Buy now.
buy now.
Yeah. Just be straightforward.
Yeah.
Okay. So I love that. Like, you don't have to be clever. You don't have to be like, I'm brain farting right now, but
get words.
Discreet. Just it's like, if you want to, maybe if you thought about it and if the time is right, you might want to think about maybe getting this book.
Yeah.
Okay, so
the next time you catch a cold, buy this book.
Yeah.
Oh, but you'll have to remember that.
Just buy now.
Just buy now.
Awesome. I love it. So where are you pricing your books at so that people are like, they click the buy now and they get to your site where you get to the Amazon page or wherever, the iTunes or wherever you've
whichever one it is that they pick. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like what's my price point?
Do you usually have them do you usually try and have like a sale happening? Or...
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
I used to do the whole, my lead is going to be free or 99 cents. Mm-hmm. And then I decided that I was going to test drive putting it at $2.99. And then I raised my mid books to $3.99. So the ones in the middle. My first one's $2.99. The ones in the middle are $3.99, and then the last ones are $4.99. Because if they've invested that far into a season, they're going to invest an extra $1 into reading the last couple.
Yeah. Do you have them under Kindle Unlimited?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Good to know.
I'm wide.
You're wide.
Wide.
Awesome. Thank you for getting into the specifics, because I know a lot of people are like, what? And I'm like,
No.
Yeah.
Cut to the chase. Make it simple.
Yeah. Okay. So what is your best advice that you would give to authors who want to be successful?
Well, you just need to understand that this is going to be a struggle. And you need to know what your expectations are. If your expectations are that you are going to write this amazing book and that you are going to put it out there for the world to find you, and that people are just going to write accolades to you, you are going to fail. Probably. However, if you want to tell stories and you want to eventually, one day maybe make it, then you need to be prepared for a really long, difficult haul. And you will need to gain some fortitude and some really, really thick skin.
And it'll work?
Maybe. But you'll be tougher for it. Let's say that.
Why do you think people need to take a thick skin?
Because it's hard. It's really, really hard. We've got authors attacking authors. We've got readers attacking authors. We've got, it's a slugfest out there, and it's not because people are Beavises or buttheads, it's just because in one moment, one person had a bad day and decided to open their mouths and spew ugliness upon another person. And then that person decided to take a personal offense to it. And then it just, it keeps compounding. Well, if we had a few more calluses to our soul, then it probably wouldn't escalate quite as much as it currently does. We need to be bigger adults. I
like that better than thick skin. I have the tiniest skin, but I can be a bigger adult. I'm not like, I don't know. I'm pretty dang sensitive, but I can be a big adult. Like, I can step back and be like, you know what? Everybody's has a bad day.
Yeah. And I am so insensitive.
No, I am super sensitive, but I'm also really like, everybody has a bad day. I've had a bad day. Have I had things that I did wrong or that I regretted? Yes. On a day that I was not feeling so great. And does that happen? Yeah. And my second part is that I'm like, is it worth it for me to put my energy into this? That's
the other thing. That's a very good point, because and this is the reason why I call it developing a thick skin, is because you're kind of putting up that boundary between you and the things that would take away your energy. Because like if you read a review that is just absolutely scathing, and then it just tears you down, guess what you're not doing? You're not writing.
Yeah.
You're not editing or working on covers or working on branding or marketing or anything else. You're just sitting there, going, I got a really bad review. And trust me, I've had those and I've been there. And my husband, he would just look at me and he's like, okay, if I were you, what would I tell you?
Wait, what?
Because I'm the one who's always saying that, put on your big girl panties, go babe, go put on your big boy shoes. So, where are you? What would I tell you right now? Fine, I'll go do the thing.
Fine, cowgirl up. Dang it.
Yeah.
Oh, good husband. Good husband.
He's so
He
good.
doesn't tell you to cowgirl up. Because he's smarter than that.
He is. He makes me tell me to cowgirl up.
Calm down. What did you say?
What did you just say?
You cannot tell me to calm down.
Because that never works.
No, never. Okay. Could you tell us a little bit? You've mentioned a couple of things, so I'd like people. I don't know if
I feel
you
like
do.
I've been talking a lot.
I know. Do you have? Okay, so you mentioned real indie author.
Yeah.
You mentioned your publishing company, and you mentioned obviously you as an author. So I'm curious if you want to share each of those, or if you have one place that goes to all of them. I don't know. Can you share?
What can I share?
Yeah,
of course I can. Yeah. So, Whistling Book Press is my publishing house. Currently, I need to redo that entire website. So don't go there yet.
Everybody right now is like, what?
What? Yeah.
Definitely need to go there right now.
Yeah, go there right now. And then you'll be like, no, wait just a minute. Something doesn't look right. Are you for real? Yes, I am. I've been investing a lot of my time into Real Indie Author. It is a indie author service provider website. We offer editing, outlining, book covers. That's actually realindiecovers.com. And then we've also got an outline course that we're doing. It's still currently in beta because we're still getting it together. And also, if you guys need additional resources, like who can I go to get more marketing, or can I get a list of, book cover artists, real indie, yeah, okay, I like yours, but I need to see everybody else's too. That's all on there.
Oh.
Yeah, because yes, I enjoy helping other authors, but what other authors really need is more information, so they can make good decisions. And so I've been trying really hard to give them as many good resources as I possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Wow.
That's where I've been investing most of my time last year.
Yeah.
Getting that launched.
I understand. It takes way more time than anybody thinks.
Oh my gosh, it does.
I'm like, every project, you're like, oh, I just want to do this one thing. Like today, I want to
3 hours later.
Yes. I'm like, a landing page. And then I'm like, oh, I need all these things before I can even start making a landing page.
I know. Yeah. You're just like, well, it's just one
I
page.
need to have an automated sequence. I need to have.
Yeah. Yes. And then you need the graphics.
Yes. It's so much. But
Yeah.
If you can find somebody who will help you with that, real indie author,
Right?
that's
Yes.
awesome.
Yeah.
People can find out more about your series, the seasons. Where can they do
Oh,
that?
yeah. That would be whiskey-witches.com.
I love that so much. Mostly probably because I have a cat named Whiskey.
Right. Yeah.
And I like witches.
I do like you just can't go wrong.
No.
You can't go wrong. When I originally published Whiskey Witches, it was the Demon Summoner Chronicles, and it was the Ansley Witches. And so when I decided it's not. It's not. So I looked at the brand and I was just like, well, what can I brand really well? And I came up with Whiskey Witches, and I haven't looked back since.
I love it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I love that. And because at the final minute, you guys, so many people want to come up with like this really clever series name.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know what that means. Like they'll come up with like the such and such chronicles or something.
Because it sounds amazing.
And I'm like,
but nobody gets it.
But nobody knows what that means. Make it something like Whiskey Witches. You're like, I kind of know what that means. Like I have an idea of what these are going to be about.
Yeah.
Plus alliteration.
You can't go wrong.
Yeah, it definitely makes you curious. You're like, what? Whiskey Witches?
What?
Click.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
We kind of bounced all over, but it was a lot of really good info.
Yeah. Well, I hope so. I hope so.
It was. It was. Yeah, definitely. And I had a lot of fun.
I did too.
I hope everybody else had fun. You guys, thank you for listening, everybody. I hope you had fun too. Hugs and happy authoring here at Author Like a Boss. Hey, boss, you made it to the end of the episode. You're the best. Because of that, I'm going to give you a special invitation to find out more about the Author Boss Academy, where I and a bunch of really awesome authors hang out, have fun, and get stuff done. If you end up joining, tell me the secret word and you'll get a special bonus. Find out more about the Academy at authorlikeaboss.com/academy. The secret word is nipples. Hugs and happy authoring. I hope to see you soon.
If you love the Author Like a Boss podcast, we'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and give a review on iTunes. Until next time.